Thank you so much for staying tuned to today's edition of International Forum. I am Wilson Omasha. Today, make it around globally because I want to delve into what we have in store for you today. The Russian-Ukraine crisis. And I have someone all the way from the U.S., Boston, Massachusetts. He's here via Zoom. Join me to welcome Barrister Osahon Osazua, a legal practitioner, human rights activist. Barrister, welcome to International Forum.
It is always my pleasure to be with you, Winston.
All right.
And I hope everyone over there, you guys are doing great.
Yeah. We are doing good. They're really missing you a lot. They'll be like, you mean that barrister that used to come into the studio? I mean, it's like, far long ago. Anyway, it's good to have you join us all the way from the U.S. Well, right now, barrister, I want to take a short break. When we return, we'll start off with a discussion. Viewers, don't go away. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for staying tuned to this channel. If you just joined us, this is International Forum. Out me here in the studio all the way from Boston, Massachusetts, USA is Barrister Osahon Osazua. He shared his thought and opinion in what is really happening right now in the Russian-Ukraine war. And there is a twist because North Korea's supreme leader is going straight to Russia to pay a visit to Putin. And they are saying that this is not unconnected to the war. Barrister, a year and some months and counting, the war in Ukraine rages on. And this time around, it's like North Korea is in the mix. What do you have to say about this?
Yeah, thank you very much, Wilson. You talked about the war being a year and 7 months. Yeah, when you say that, you talk about the invasion. But in actuality, this war has been going on since October 24th, 2014, which makes it almost, next month we make it, 9 years. So that's what is really going on over there. Because somebody, they think that they are putting things that violence is the answer. That the strong can always take what they want, and that the weak must always need what they must. And it is so sad that we see how people like Putin who still think that way. A man who is fully militarized and having a nuclear weapon to be at the aims of affairs of a country like Russia, and then to have this mindset that might is right is disturbing for everyone. But we thank God that the Ukrainians have given the rest of the free world hope that no matter how strong Hercules may be, as Shakespeare said, that Hercules may do all that he wants. But at the end of the day, the cat will still new and the dog will still have its day. The Ukrainians are still having their day. They are making us understand that no matter how strong power and might might be, that when you have the will, when you have the tenacity to confront evil, evil is ultimately confronted. That's part of the issue during the Second World War, when the world failed to realize that standing up to Hitler was the shortest route to peace. They thought that appeasing Hitler would make things better and will make conditions better. But at the end of the day, we realized that it wasn't so. Because if you give the devil an inch, he will ask for two. If you give it a yard, he will ask for two. So Vladimir Putin has to be confronted by might, by strength, by force of arms. Like Machiavelli said, that when there is salvation only in arms, those arms, they become holy. So the Ukrainians are giving the rest of us hope, and they are standing up to tyranny, they are standing up to despotism, and they are standing up against what? Against tyranny and against oppression. And Putin thought he was going to take a ride into Ukraine and come out from the other hand. But the resistance has been steep, and the casualty on the part of the Russians has been so steep. There are some that say that Russia has lost over 70% of its military force that entered Ukraine. And if you ask me, I think it's up to 90%, because the Russian army, if you like it or not, has been decimated. And that is why he's appealing to North Korea, appealing to the Iranians, and appealing to all that he needs weapons. His forces and his armory has been depleted, and the man is in dire straits and is in great danger of losing this war and then bringing shame upon himself. Because he has this aura of being a strong man. We now know that he's not as strong as we think. Common Ukraine is humbling this guy, and it is good for the rest of us.
All right, now you said this war has been raging on, that it has been beyond a year, 7 months. You mentioned, is it 2012 or 2014, of that nature?
2014.
Where would you say that the war has gone beyond this number of years?
Yeah, if you remember the issue of Crimea, when the Russian annexed Crimea, when the Russian army moved into Crimea in October 24th, 2014, that was when this war began. In the eastern region, the Donbass region, and the Donetsk region, this war has been going on for close to 9 years. So, and this is a war that has been going on for these 9 years. It's just a new phase that was opened when October last year, that's February last year. February last year, when the Russian army decided to invade Ukraine, thinking they were going for a ride, a picnic, that they were going to decimate the Ukrainians. And if the Ukrainians see them, the Ukrainians were going to genuflect and bow before them and welcome them and say, you are the conqueror, come and take control. But the man has been shocked beyond words. The man has been disillusioned, so to speak, and now he's seeking for friendship, seeking for refuge, trying to make alliances, and to build back, like you said, the old houses of evil, that he wants allies, because his stocks need to be replenished. His armories that are fast running out need to be replenished. And he's looking for one king of home to come and build him out. I will turn to the Iranians with their, let's say, the Iranians provided him a lot of drones. And those drones initially...
Yeah, the kamikaze drones, yes.
Yeah. And now the American aids, those drones, they are falling from the sky a second. And there's no one single drone hovering above the skies of Ukraine as we speak. Because once they go up, the Ukrainians bring them down. Now they look for something longer missiles from Pyongyang. We'll see where we go. We'll see how it goes.
All right, now from your own analysis, is it a cry for desperation, or it goes beyond that? Someone is saying this goes beyond the war that is happening right now in Ukraine. Others are saying it's for bilateral relations. I mean, how can you really divide this school of thought?
This meeting reminds me sometimes of what happened sometimes in 1936, when Hitler then flew all the way to Rome to meet with a certain Benito Mussolini, and when they were trying to build those Axis again, they were called the Axis power, because Hitler had a vision of taking over the world, and by then Mussolini has erected himself as a strong man in Italian and European politics, and Hitler flew to him. Hitler was a junior partner then. He flew to Mussolini trying to build alliances. I see such alliances being trying to be built today by Vladimir Putin. He has turned to the Chinese, but the Chinese are so wise. The Chinese understand. We have to give it to the Chinese. Those ancient people understand what it means to be on top, what it means to develop, what it means in modern economy to be a world super player. That today your strength does not lie in the bigness or the largeness of your bombs and your armory. And your strength lies, my brother, in your economic power and your productive power and your gross domestic products and the reach of your currency and the reach of your economy. So when they turn to the Chinese softly turn them away, making them to understand that the Chinese economy is built primarily on global trade. If the Chinese were to back the Russians, they will lose trade to Europe, they will lose trade to America, they might even lose trade to Africa. Very bulk and a sizable function of their goods that are being produced somewhere in Beijing and all over China are being exported for sale, are being imported for sale. So they understand those dynamics, and that is what Putin has failed to understand. Putin realizes that he has lost the economic battle, that Russia can never be an economic superpower, and it thinks by smarter bomb and bigger bombs, he can bamboozle and then threaten the rest of us to genuflect before him. And now you realize that he's also wrong on that front. If Ukraine can stand up to Putin, if Ukraine can stand up to Putin for almost 10 years, imagine Italy, imagine France, imagine the United Kingdom, imagine, just not to talk about the United States. So there is hope for the rest of the free world that tyranny can never again rise. That is why I like so much, what I like so much about President Joe Biden. He realizes that evil has to be confronted. He realizes that there are people like Kim Jong-un and people like Vladimir Putin, all they understand is power, all they understand is strength, all they understand is your ability to tell them that we will match your madness with our madness, that we will match your bombs with our bombs, that whatever you think we can do, we can double. So that's the language people like Vladimir Putin understand, and I think he's understanding it even more today. That is why he's so desperate. But I tell you, no matter the alliances with the North Koreans are a largely hungry people. The North Koreans cannot even take care of themselves. Talk of, you know what it means to fight a prolonged war? It's not just the size of a bomb. The people who are spraying those bombs, so they have to eat, they have to clothe themselves. The logistics involved are massive, and the billions of dollars in.
All right, now we are still waiting to re-establish a contact with Barrister Osaho or Osazuwa. You know, sometimes these things do happen. But if you take a look at what is happening right now in the world, there seems to be a warning for the Ukrainian army. They're like telling them to do whatever they need to do to recapture these territories occupied by the Russian forces. After all, in 3 months, autumn might just be over. All right? Autumn might just be over. Once winter approaches, it might just be way too difficult for them to continue with the onslaught of retaking the parts that have been conquered already by the Russian forces. 3 months is just like 2 army or 2 military formation running towards a fixed time, running towards what they call the closing belt, so to speak. All right. Well, we still have a Barrister Osaho Osazuwa here with us, all the way from the U.S. Well, you were like talking about a desperation, and I was trying to make the viewers understand that from the warning given by the U.S. War analysts, they said, look, Ukrainians, they have just 3 months to make progress into the areas captured by the Russian forces. 3 months after which is going to be a cold winter. Do you think that from what is going on right now, Putin is looking at that 3 months? Is that the reason why he's going to North Korea for assistance, so to speak, Barrister?
Thank you very much. When we're talking about the cold winter, what is good for the goose must by necessity and by implication be good for the gander. And what is also equally bad for the goose, now is also translated to be bad for the gander. If the bitter cold and winter is coming, it's going to affect both the Ukrainians and the Russians. It's not going to be affect only the Ukrainians, only the Russians. They all live in the same region. They know how bitter the winter is over there. And I tell you something, that the Ukrainians are well prepared for it. Because like I said earlier, war has moved into money, into big economy. And the more money you have, the better you are able to wage a prolonged war. Whether in winter, whether in summer, whether in autumn, or whatever it is. And I tell you something, the Ukrainians are prepared for that because they have the backings of the West.
Thank you so much for waiting patiently for us to come back from that break. If you just joined us, this is International Forum, and we are taking a look at the Russian-Ukraine war, North Korea's interest, and all the way from Boston, Massachusetts, we have a barrister, Osahon Osazuwa. He's sharing his own thoughts and opinion on what he feels is happening, what is going on between inside of Putin's mind as North Korea supreme leader is moving from Pyongyang to Moscow, the Kremlin. All right. So, well, now that we have North Korea in the mix, do you feel that this war will take another dimension, knowing fully well that North Korea is a kind of a country that doesn't really give respect, so to speak, to countries that other countries seems to be afraid of?
Yeah. Thank you, Wilson. I don't know if you heard me earlier when I did allude to the fact that no matter what alliances Putin is going to seek, especially the North Koreans or the Iranians, nothing good, nothing far-reaching is going to come out of it. If you were talking to me about an alliance with China, I'm listening to you. But not the North Koreans and the Iranians that are still battling with the basic necessities of quotidian or daily life. Those guys, they don't have what it takes for the long haul. War is an expensive undertaking. War is massively it's a quite massive economic investment. And the North Koreans, who, with respect, I say hungry as we speak, do not have what it takes for a prolonged and a protracted war, like what we are envisioning and envisaging in the Ukrainian region. So that's that. But let me tell you something. Like I did say before, that evil has to be confronted. That tyranny and oppression has to be confronted. You do not appease these guys. You do not tell them, make peace with them. People like Vladimir Putin, all they understand is power. All they understand is strength. You have to tell them that they can match their capacity to inflict suffering, my own capacity to inflict even greater suffering. So that's the way they want it. That's the way it is. But I tell you something about the North Korean, about the supreme leader, and the way he thinks. It is going to come to Putin. And Putin is going to demand some armament from him. Because it's, like I said earlier, his armory has been largely depleted. And he has lost, in all honesty, I'm not exaggerating, at least 70% of the Russian soldiers that entered Ukraine, and even more. And today, he wants to save face. Today, he wants to appear to the Russians that he still a strong man. After the Wagner forces did to him, and the shame that Perozin brought upon him, was almost about to take Moscow. Now, he cannot afford to lose this war. And he realized that at this point, even the Ukrainians are not ready to make any deal of any sort. The only deal the Ukrainians and the West will listen to is for the Russians to pack all their loads, their baggages, and go back across the border. Not 1 inch of Ukrainian soil will be ceded to Vladimir Putin. Evil must not be rewarded. The West is ready to confront Vladimir Putin. And no matter what alliances is going to build with him, it's not going to result in anything tangible, not change the dynamics or the trajectory of the Ukrainian war. I can tell you that for free.
All right, now, if you take a look at what Vladimir Zelensky is really saying right now about taking every inch occupied by Russian forces or the citizens of Russia, do you think that they're going to extend the retaking straight down to the Crimea?
Let me tell you something. Inside this discussion, when I quoted Niccolo Machiavelli, who said that a necessary war is a just war. a war becomes just if by implication that war was necessary. This war was brought upon the Ukrainian people. And yes, in 2014, Putin invaded Crimea. Crimea is a legitimate part of Ukraine. And when we talk about taking every single inch of Ukrainian soil, by implication, Crimea is involved. It's a part and parcel of Ukraine. And I tell you, if every inch, the West is determined that every single stretch of Ukrainian soil will be restrict from Russia. The West does not seek dominance over Russia. What they seek is equity and fair place and cooperation. But since this war was questioned, was brought upon United people because of a man who believes that might is right, who believes that you can take what you want and strength of arms. So the West is prepared to also meet him at the junction of strength, so that they match this power for power that pretty so the illusionary think he possesses. And every inch, I can tell you this also, that every inch of Ukrainian soil is going to be restricted. And Putin is going to taught a lesson that you do not that you are not always right because you think you are stronger than your neighbor. No, it's not done that way. And the world and the leaders of the West has come to realize that no, for people like Putin, you do not talk to him. You meet him by force, and they are meeting him by force. And the man today is about to be annihilated.
All right, now talking about the G20 summit, there were no direct indices indicating that Russia's encroachment into Ukraine was mentioned, and that didn't really go down well with Ukrainian president. He was expecting the G20 summit to really harp on what is going on between Russia and Ukraine, but it wasn't mentioned directly. Is that a message to Ukrainians that somehow, somewhere along the line, their support, talking about the Western allies, are getting wary of this war?
There is no way about that. The G20, in configuration and in constitution, is so much different from the Western alliance. So much different. But having said that, let me quickly say this. At the conference, yes, it's not that Russia was not condemned for invading Ukraine. But in the same breath, they were not commended. They decided to take risks over it. That was the G20. Okay. So, but we all do know because of some, people becomes emotional and they're illogical over issues like this. What are the facts on ground? It is said that facts are stubborn things. What are the facts? Ukraine was on its own, and Russia decided to invade Ukraine. Why? Because they feared that Ukraine was about to join the NATO alliance. But we know that was just a pretext. As we speak today, there are so many former republics of the old Soviet Union who are full-fledged members of NATO. What has been done to them? It's just because Putin wanted to give the impression to the Russian people that he is still strong. How can you just start a war on the whims and caprices of your emotions just to make a point that you can? And that is why the West is standing up to him and saying, no, you can't. And the lessons have been learned in blood and sweat, in iron and in misery. And I will just pray that sooner or later this ends. Because if this war is to go on, if what I'm hearing is true that Biden is about to approve longer reaching means that can reach the heart of Moscow, then we are all in for something massive. But I personally think that the time has come for Vladimir Putin to begin to feel the heat of this war that he has brought upon himself. For God's sake, if one or two cruise missiles should land in Moscow, perhaps the lessons might be learned. But let us just pray and hope that Putin get some sense into his head and do the right thing and turn around with a spade between his legs and go back to Moscow. If it doesn't do that, I just fear that the end will be devastating for everyone involved.
Oh, we're talking about devastation, the end being devastating. Some of the opinion that, look, Russia, they've already made it known to the world that if it gets so much and Ukrainians keep getting support from the West and her allies, that if Russia is pushed to the war, they might just be tempted to use the tactical nuke. Don't forget that between Ukraine and Belarus, Russia very positioned the tactical nuke there, saying that if worse comes to worse, they might be forced to use it. Do you see this approaching that line?
Thank you, Winston. Let me tell you this. The man who goes to the barber shop does not leave his head at all. He takes his head right with him to the barber shop. The tactical nuclear weapons we talk about, it's not exclusively a Russian thing. The West has it and has it in abundance. More precise, more really tactical, and more directed. So if they want to go all hard, perhaps let it be so. Let it be so. If that's what Putin wants, if you want to play the music and dance to it, you will realize that it's not the only person that can dance to that tune. We all can dance to that tune. And you should be prepared for that too. Because I tell you something, Winston, the West is not going to stop supporting Ukraine. Not even, God forbid, Trump wins the next election. It won't still stop. Because the pressure is high on the West and the Western Alliance that evil has to be confronted. No, the lessons was learned almost 80 years ago by accusing one Adolf Hitler, who was going from conquest to conquest, conquering and then to conquer. They thought after conquering one or two, we will get there and we will relax. No, we have all known that these people who think like this, they never get enough. Nothing satisfies their Korean appetite for dominance and for domination and for oppression. Sooner or later, you have to stand up against them, and I pray it sooner rather than later.
But do you see this, if not well handled, escalating to a third world war? After all, the U.S. and our allies via NATO is really trying to push back the Russian forces away from Ukraine. And Russia very issued that warning, if what should come to worse, tactical nuke will be used. And if it's used, do you think it's going to provoke others to do something drastic, and that might just lead to the war that mankind has been so afraid of?
I think the answer again is that a necessary war is a just war.
Necessary war. So you're foreseeing.
If confronting tyranny and oppression leads to wherever it leads, then it is what it is. But evil has to be confronted. Because if you think these guys, by giving them a yard or two, they'll be satisfied, then you are totally wrong. The kings, the horns, and the princes of this world, they don't think the way they're supposed to do. These are the people who understand the dynamics of power, and they want it all. These people have been possessed by a spirit that is unknown and uncommon to the rest of us. And that fills them with a yearning to dominate, a yearning to take over. And these guys, sooner or later, they have to be stopped. Let me tell you something, like I said before, if you go to the barber, you take your head with you. You want to keep his head. The tactical weapon you're talking about, everybody knows. They call it mad, mutually assured destruction. Mad. If you want to go the mad way, then nobody wants to die. It means you yourself, you are going under. That's what it means. And nobody wants to die. There is no victor in a nuclear battle. There is no winner in a nuclear war. They all know that. The statesmen of the world and the leaders of the world, they realize this. Even the ones that are so mad, like Putin and John Hong, they also realize this. Why do you think that John Hong, for all his launching of tactical weapons and nuclear weapons and all the various testing he was doing at the time weekly, why has he not launched one? Because he realizes that launching one also assures his own destruction. Everybody gets destroyed. That's what it is.
All right, now let's take out the option of nuke from the table. Do you think that somewhere along the line, Russian forces might just need the services of North Korean military in form of machinery, knowing fully well that the head of Wagner has been taken out of the equation?
Let me tell you something, Winston. If you ask me, that when this all is said and done, that the logical conclusion of this war might be the demise not of the Soviet Republic, but of one Vladimir Putin. Putin, if he pushes it too hard, is going down. What the Wagner forces showed him is just the tip of the iceberg. The Russians will go for him. They will come for him. Because nobody wants to kill himself. When he sees, nobody wants to die. When he sees that he's going to plunge the whole of Russia into war and destruction and annihilation, the Russians will rise against him. The sooner he comes to his senses, the better for him and for the rest of us too.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Osaho Sozuwa, for spending this time with us. But what advice do you have to the warring faction, Putin, Zelensky, the West, NATO, North Korea, even China in this particular onslaught?
Yes, to be pragmatic, my brother, if you ask me honestly, the West has made it abundantly clear to Putin that they will match this evil. For evil, in quotes, I'm telling you. So now, if by chance Putin can come to the back door just to save face and tell them, look, let's make a deal. I'm going out, but I will just go out as though, and just to save face before the Russian people, but rather, if he doesn't want to go back in shame, let them do that for him. Let them say, okay, you won, but go back home. Something of that sort. He has to go back home. Because if he continue on this line, on this way he's going, I think the end will be devastating for humanity at large.
Thank you so much, Barrister. I really appreciate the wonderful analysis. Let's hope and pray that Vladimir Putin will really listen to that word of advice of yours. But as I say, right now, the war and the battle is still raging on in Ukraine. Ukrainian forces are saying they are not going to give up, they are not going to give in. While the Russian forces, they are saying, march on, push on. Who do you think will come out tops in this battle? Mind you, you can start up a war, but when that war will end, nobody knows. Peace definitely should be the watchword. See you same time next week, Tuesday, God willing. Bye for now.